Good morning. I used to be scared of Tailwind and CSS. I kid you not, I used to have full stack engineer in my resume back in the day, and I didn't even know how to center a div. I mean, sure, I knew about the box model, right? In HTML, every single HTML element has this model where you have the content, right? The padding, the border, and the margin around it. But the real issue was, how do you organize all the elements on the page? I struggled with thinking bigger picture, you know? Eventually, I stumbled upon this, Flexbox and Grid. Turns out that this is one of the most important CSS concepts you need to know. So I created a website just to explain this. These two simple concepts, Flexbox and Grid. If you don't know Tailwind yet, it's super simple. It's all right. Just understand the core underlying patterns and you'll be fine. Once you master Flexbox and Grid, you'll be able to create landing pages like how Apple does, and you'll be able to create dashboards like YouTube. By the way, I created this website completely using AI. I did something called vibe coding. If you don't know what it is, check it out. Look it up. It's really cool. You can find this under layout.withneil.com. Link in the description. Check it out. It's free to use and it's really interesting. The main issue here is, how do we organize content on a website? Obviously, you use one of Flexbox or Grid. Well, how do you know which one to use, Flex or Grid? Well, if you're going to arrange content in a linear fashion, i.e. in one direction, if you're going to do it either vertically or horizontally, you'd use Flexbox. If you need both, if you need to do it in two dimensions, so vertically and horizontally, you'd use a grid. That's it. Let's start off with Flexbox. Flexbox allows us to organize content linearly. Spoiler alert, you'll be able to center a div at the end of this video. Let's say we have a div with 3 elements and we want to create a layout for it. With Flex, it's really important to understand this. Flex works with axes. You have the main axis and you have the cross axis. It's going to come up later. You'll see. You can use Flex in 2 ways, either with row or with column. You'll see here that if we use a column direction, it's going to organize it vertically. If you're going to use a row direction, it organizes it horizontally. By default, if you add a flex attribute to a class, it's going to organize it horizontally. You also have column. So if you say flex and then you say flex call in Tailwind, it's going to organize it vertically, all right, in a column fashion. Additionally, with Flexbox, you can also give it a class to organize it in reverse fashion. So if you add flex row reverse, you're going to add it in a reverse fashion. You might wonder, why do we have to add this? Why do we have to add this flex call here? By default, whenever we send in flex, Tailwind automatically adds a flex row to it. So it defaults to always being row. If you want it vertically, you just gotta say flex call. So you have to understand, this is a div with 3 elements in it. So we talked about our 2 axes, right? Our main axis and our cross axis. What if we want to center it on the main axis? So for example, if we have a horizontal order here, right? And we want to center it horizontally, we would use the justify concept. If you want to center it vertically or according to its cross axis, we would organize it using the align concept. And look at this. If I switch between row and column, you'll see that they're flipped, okay? And this is how you do it. If we go to justify content here, we see that we have some helper classes, okay? Let's start with justify start, very common. If I just want the elements to just appear how they should appear, we use a justify start. All right, by default, this is how it goes. So whenever you do flex, you basically indirectly add a justify start. What if you want to center it horizontally? Then you have justify center, right? Similar with justify end. You also have some nice stuff like justify between, where it adds like even content, like space between the content. You also have around and evenly. You can check out this website if you want to learn about all of the ways you can justify content. So justify, right? Justify here works on the main axis. So if we had a flex call setup, right? If we had flex call, just like this, flex call, and we wanted to center it vertically, we would call a justify center on the flex call. We would switch to column, justify center, and using the justify concept, we would center it vertically like this, okay? Let's move on to the cross axis and how we can manipulate that. In Tailwind, we have these classes: item start, item center, items end, and item stretch, all right? You can look at what they do right here in these wonderful, wonderful pictograms, okay? So here, for example, we have a flex row here. We have a flex horizontal here, right? And if we wanted to center it vertically, right? Even though we have a horizontal layout here, we would use the cross axis, and to manipulate that, we'd add this item center right here. That way, we center it vertically. Okay, so if we have this layout, right? This horizontal div layout here, and we wanted to center it, right? This dashed box here represents the div, the container div. We would then center it vertically sorry, we would then center it horizontally by saying justify center, and then we would center it vertically by saying item center. Okay, that's it. All you need to do to center something is just add flex, item center, justify center. And if you want it vertically, then you do a then you just do a flex call. I hope that makes sense. Let's move on to another important topic, grow. So let's say we have three elements and we want the first and the last element to stay fixed, okay? But we want the elements in the center to grow. So here we have a container div with three elements, right? Div 1, div 2, and div 3. All we would have to do is call flex on the parent div. We'd have to then go flex grow 0. So this basically means flex grow off. And then we would have to call flex grow on the center one. This is basically it. You would add a grow 0 here, a grow, and a grow 0. And then boom, you have the requested layout. Similarly, you can add values as well. So let's say you wanted to be proportionate to each other with a given factor, right? So here you'd write grow, you would write grow 2, and you would write grow 3. Simple. And you also have utility classes for shrink. The opposite of shrink is grow. So here we have one item that is shrunk, which is equivalent to grow 0. We have flex shrink, and then we have flex shrink off 0. You also have flex shrink -1, which then means shrink. So that's short. That's a longer way of writing flex shrink. So that's grow in a nutshell. This is how you can take advantage of the space that you have. For example, in YouTube, what is this? You have these three components here, okay? And they have space in between each. So you can achieve this by having this component, and this component within one div, and then calling a justify between, so that you can have this layout right here. Super cool. Additionally, for the people who love using Tailwind, you'll notice here a breakpoint, MD. What does that stand for? That stands for medium. So this code here is saying, make this a flex, but for devices that are bigger than tablet size, you organize it horizontally. For things that are not tablet size, you organize them vertically, obviously, right? Using this flex call. This is how Tailwind works, right? But you can mix and match these things. So I can't, maybe let's try. So now I've made the browser a bit smaller. You can see that this is now vertical, right? And if I make it a bit bigger, you can see it makes them horizontal again. That's how that works, okay? Super cool. Now, what if we have some more complex stuff? That's where we go to grid, okay? So grids are super cool because, again, you can use it in two different dimensions, vertically and horizontally. The way the syntax works is as follows. Let's say we have a container class, right? Or sorry, a container element, right? We just slap a grid attribute to it and boom, it's now a grid, all right? It defaults to one column, okay? Let's say we want 3 columns. All we have to do is say grid-calls-3. And now it just splits up the children into nice goddamn elements right there. Boom. You can have as many columns as you want. All right. Now, there's another important thing, right? That I didn't touch up on flex, but it works with flex as well. You see here that these elements have spacing, right? So the thing is that for flex and grid, you can add an attribute called gap. Okay. Gap basically says this works with rems. Okay. I don't know what the full form of rem is, but basically it's like a multiple. I memorized this by 4. So gap 2 is 2 times 4 is 8 pixels. So you have 8 pixels gap in between each of these elements, okay? So you can specify as much gap as you want, okay? But what's more important is that you can specify it horizontally and vertically. So let's say you want 8 rem, or let's say 32 pixels between each item, or between the columns. You want 32 pixels between the columns. You just say gap x 8, and if you want 8 pixels or 2 rem between each row, you would write gap y2. Again, this works with flex as well. So right here, like implicitly, you see a gap in between here. All you'd have to do is you would add gap in between here, okay? This is AI generated, by the way, so that's why gap doesn't show up. I'll fix it for production. So once this video is up, I hope I'll fix it. I don't know. If I don't, then, use your brain. Okay, cool. So let's move on to row spanning. So let's say we want to make it a bit more complex, right? We have the same grid here, right? We have this grid and we have a 3-column grid. You can see here that we basically have 3 columns. But what if I want this element to be a bit twice as big as this element, right? Then what I would do is for that particular div that I want bigger, I would add a call span of 2 in here, okay? That means that this div will have 2 times the width, or it spans 2 columns, all right? and it just works magically, all right? So you can see here the way we do this, right? So if we don't add anything, it defaults to spanning one column, right? If we do specify a span, it adjusts. So this is how you would create this, this layout right here. Similar with row as well. You can check out this code here. And you can use them both. You can use them, you can mix and match all of these classes, and it's super cool. This is how you get the power of creating some good shit. This is some complex shit. You can check it out if you want. I barely use this shit in my code. This usually works well enough, right? So we're good. You can read up, you can scroll here, and you can see how to implement all this stuff. And eventually you'll be able to create these kind of layouts, which is obviously, like, you can see that this is basically how Twitter is, right? So if we go to Twitter, you can see that this has this holy grail layout. So where were we? Here, this is Twitter's layout basically, and this is also Facebook's layout, right? And this is how you could code it. Similar with dashboards and stuff like that, right? But let's get on to something more important, the examples. So you can see here, this is a dashboard, right? How would you create it? Well, I put the code right here so you can check it out, okay? You can look at the important classes and see what they do. But yeah, look, this is how you create dashboard layouts, and this is how you create like landing page layouts as well. Now, the cool thing about this landing page layout is that we're using a mix of both. We're using Flex somewhere, and we're using Grid as well. So the way, like, combining these two concepts, Flex and Grid, is how you organize shit on your screen, which is super cool. Okay? And eventually you'll be able to create any type of layout that you want using these concepts. All right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Look through this, like, learn, like, this, like, seriously, this, like, I didn't have ChatGPT when I was starting out with development and shit. If I were to have this, it would have sped up my coding game by so much I can't even fathom. All right, I spent so long, I didn't even know that I didn't know this. You understand? Like, I thought having this box model was enough, but no, I needed to master this. So my message to you, if you don't know what this is already, Flexbox and Grid, master it. Start up a project and start coding with it right away. Okay, for example, this is my portfolio, right? If I look at this, you can see that I used a form of Flex here. So you see here, Flex call border T, right? That's basically the container for this application, right? If I go here, you can see these items here. For example, this is the hero, this is this carousel right here, right? And this is how you do it. And within each element, I'm calling Flex and Flex call again. So you can see here, this is a Flex call, right? And then this is the title, and this is the content, right? And so it's really powerful stuff. It's so simple as well. These two concepts, Flexbox and Grid, will allow you to create layouts like never before. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Listen, I recently got 1,000 subscribers. I hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel. That's crazy, dude. I did not expect people to like listening to me, but apparently they do. I want to give a big thank you to you all. You guys seriously mean a lot to me. I hope to be of immense value for you all. If you made it this far in this video, you are a G, to be honest. You are great. You have a lot of taste. You have exquisite taste, my friend. Let me know in the comments what you want to see from this channel. This was a very front-end UI heavy video, but I can also create content on AI and LLMs and back-end stuff. So let me know what you want to see. It shouldn't be just limited to front-end stuff. You know, I have a vision that one day we'll be able to create an army of developers who can code wonderful, beautiful shit, genuinely. And so let me know what you wanna build. Find me. The Discord link is in the description. Hit me up if you have any questions. If you have any projects you'd like to discuss, hit me up. If you have any questions regarding your resume or building these skills, let me know, man. Like, we're in this together, all right? Take it easy, and yeah, life is a gift given by the gods to make a proper use of it. Also, kind of unrelated, listen to some John Mayer, man. Like, this is an Easter egg, all right, in this video. Go listen to some John Mayer while you code, because I don't know why, but ever since I started listening to John Mayer, I started like coding better. And I wish he sponsored this video. Genuinely, I wish he sponsored this video for me to talk about him. But no, he did not. So just start listening to him. I'm playing. All right, have a good one. Love you. Take care. Bye.